again. I'm Lesli Hoey again, and I'm an assistant professor of urban and regional planning in Taubman College. And I study and teach about food systems, international development, policy implementation, program evaluation, and social movements around food systems, including Michigan's alternative food movement. I have the pleasure of introducing Mick Kennedy, who is also from Taubman College. He's a lecturer in architecture, and he is the co-director and founder of the Center of Urban Topography. So that means he does interesting things like video mapping and documentaries. He looks at the spatial layout and architectural design of cities such as Berlin and Florence. He's taught really interesting studios, a lot on housing, but also light and glass and transit hubs and even a circus site. And I also found a couple that I thought were the most closely related to food systems but they were about aquariums. So I hope you weren't thinking about turning the fish into food, but it's the fish theme here. So when we asked Mick about his favorite food, he said artichokes, and I especially like why he said that. He said, seeing the plant, you have no idea it would be edible. You have to cook it very slowly but efficiently with steam. Eating the leaves is more fun when you do it with someone else. When you get to the heart, it's such a surprise to find, and it's so good. Mick is talking tonight about Eat With Your Eyes, the celebration of design, making, and sharing food.
Thank you, Lesli, and thank you, Lily, for inviting me. My talk might be actually sort of lightweight, following the discussion of weight that Kendrick makes. So I'd like to just talk about a design studio that I've been running in the Taubman College for graduate students for the past 3 years that we've called Eat With Your Eyes. It's an architecture of objects and operations and exercises in design, making, cooking, talking, and eating, all of which we'll sort of quickly show you today. It's about this, for architecture students, translating from designing into building. So we're going to actually, in the studio, fabricate a series of objects. We're going to design a series of processes. We're going to produce a meal and design a conversation. We're going to try to reproduce in the studio each year a version of Bonnard's table. We're also inspired by the holiday in August in Italy called Il Pranzo di Ferragosto. It's a mid-August lunch, a busman's holiday for those who have to stay and work while everyone else goes on vacation. So the effort of the studio is to create a collective restaurant, in Hemingway's terms, a clean, well-lighted space. Each student takes on a design mentor each year, and in this past year we used a series of Italian designers from the 20th century across a range of styles and times. So we asked students to design a lamp and build it, a table, a space for people to gather to eat and build it, a vase, flower vase, and of clay, plates. Each of these objects relates to a different part of the body and focuses on a different part of the body as you begin to use them and congregate together. They have to design a piece of lunch for our guests to sit and eat. Lily has been there to join us. And finally, a conversation and the talk that they might have. So the kind of things that we focused on rather than elaborate architectural drawings are things like jigs, templates, notations, bills, receipts, and recipes. And so the kind of drawings we do are sketches and thoughts about things that we might make and then the processes that we actually utilize to make them. So simple questions arise, such as this by Frank. Everyone drinks soup from their bowls, and so why not make a bowl that makes that easier? And so he developed and designed this elegant sort of bowl which allows you to eat with a spoon or with your lips. Some students sort of put the same effort into sort of designing components that they might into a recipe. Here Amanda's developed a method for dyeing and fabricating cushions that stack up, which have a direct relation to the little quiches that she made and served to our guests. We make our wine each fall and then serve that to our guests in April. So each student has a little table and we have a menu that people come by, and we have a little roster of little foods that people can move from conversation to conversation, a little bite to bite. And we've called that our mid-April lunch, Il Pranzo di Ferragosto, with one lunch, 12 lamps, 12 tables, 12 vases, 12 plates, 12 recipes, and maybe 76 conversations. This is the kind of format for a typical architectural stand, deliver review, one unlucky person sending a bunch of skeptical critics. Even when they make an object, they're still kind of looking at it from a distance. So there's Frank with his collection of things he might make, right? But this is the kind of format that we would like Frank to have, and other students have a conversation. One-to-one, talking over some food, sharing conversation, and sharing the pleasures of the design work. We're under the radar at Taubman College, so we have to colonize little spaces in order to make this happen. Set up our little pop-up restaurant wherever we can find it. And then the students' assemblies sort of have very much to do with the nature of the conversation they might have. A set of small chairs and a table creates sort of an intimate environment of conversation and sharing food. Particularly for our foreign students, this is a very connected type of conversation to have. And we have multiple conversations across the day as people serve food to our different guests. Sometimes they become very special ways of sharing. Kinds of ensembles made allow for a quick stop, eating a little bit of snack of Indian food as you're having a brief conversation and moving on. Or sometimes the work is so intense that you have to stay and spend a little bit extra time. Sometimes the tables are larger. In the case here with Aaron, we can spread out a meal and spread out a conversation. Kaylin designed a set of park benches, and she thought that these would be the kind of things that people happen by and stop and visit her and talk for a bit, and the delightful things that happen. Elpis' strange and curious surrealistic approach towards elements created a mobile atmosphere where we could spend and disarm ourselves with unique conversations around the work, as with Lorraine's curious rearrangeable collection of chairs and tables, which allowed for a strange and collected group of people to join her. Michael's table in the center was the most stable, the most large, allowed for elbows on the table conversations, people to sit back, push back and listen, and then people to come and gather and eat. Michael's chairs, most comfortable, allowed for relaxing sitting conversations. And finally, Sarah's work allowed for a threshold between the different gradients of connectivity, from people standing to sitting to our dean now joining us and breaking that barrier and coming inside the space and participating. So next April 22nd, we'll have a chair waiting for you to come and join us.